Hi, I'm Ronnie Garrett, editor of Airport Business Magazine. In this episode of Boyd Bytes, Michael Boyd cautions airports to make sure the forecasting data they are looking at is accurate as they plan for the future. He maintains that the FAA's current forecasting methodology is flawed and invites viewers to take a quiz looking at common misconceptions in the marketplace. Let's take a look at what he has to say.
Hi, Mike Boyd for Airport Business. I thought today we might take a quiz on how much we know about the industry going forward. So we have 5 questions. We're going to ask, see how well you do about where the industry is going in the future. Question number 1. In the fourth quarter of 2013, which we're in, and the fourth quarter of 2012, what is going to be the change in capacity that airlines will be scheduling? Is it A, up 3.4%, B, down 1.7%, down 5.7%, or D, about the same? The reality is there's going to be 13 million fewer seats offered for sale in the fourth quarter of this year compared to the fourth quarter of 2012. That's 5.7% down. And when airlines are already selling all their seats, what this means is we're going to see a decline in national enplanements in the fourth quarter. It also means we're probably going to see flat or actually down traffic in 2014. Airlines are not adding capacity. That's the bottom line of it. How about question number 2? You know, we have to rely on the FAA for forecasting, but just how accurate is their methodology? So we went back and looked at 2006 and said, back in 2006, what did they project for 2012? Was it A, right on the money, pretty close? Was it B, reasonably so? Was it C, 10% below? Or was it D, 20% off? The answer is their 2006 forecast for 2012 was about 20% off. They were forecasting 905 million enplanements. It came up to 748. Now, no forecast is going to be 100% accurate. But when you go back and look at the forecast the FAA does year after year, remember in the year 2000, they were projecting we're going to have 1 billion enplanements roughly by the year 2010. Now they're saying we'll have 1 billion enplanements by something like 2023. So what we're looking at here is a situation where the FAA, they need to revisit their forecast methodology because it doesn't fit the airline industry or the economy of today. Okay, question number 3. Which of the airports listed below had the highest O&D passengers, i.e., which is the biggest airport when it comes to O&D of these airports? Was it Atlanta, Denver, Boston, or DFW? Well, we all know Atlanta is the biggest airport, but it's not the biggest O&D airport. As a matter of fact, Atlanta is number 6 in O&D traffic. Denver, of those 4 airports, has the most O&D. It has more O&D than Atlanta, San Francisco, LaGuardia. It's just a hair behind Chicago O'Hare. So we're looking at a situation where we got to break out connecting traffic, which is very vulnerable to what airlines do or don't do, and local O&D, which is less vulnerable when we do our forecasting. Question number 4. We've already established there were 748 million enplanements in the U.S. in 2012. What percent do you think it's going to grow by 2018? Is it going to be 18.4%, 5.6%, 12.2%, or is it going to be an average of 4% a year for about 26% growth? The reality is when we look at what airlines are doing, their fleet plans and capacity plans, the likelihood is 5.6% growth between now and 2018 at best. This chart shows the FAA forecast, which is the red, and our Airports USA forecast, which is the blue. The reality is we don't see how the FAA forecast can be supported based upon what airlines are doing in terms of their fleets, in terms of the capacity they're going to offer. The FAA forecast assumes that if GDP grows X and buying power grows Y, airlines are going to throw out Z number of seats. That forecast methodology might have worked in the 1950s. It needs to be revised now because we're planning for traffic that isn't there. Final question, question number 5. We hear a lot about airfares, and there's a lot of misconceptions out there. So we looked at Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. In the first quarter of this year, which of these four carriers had the highest fare per mile? Was it Delta, U.S. Airways, American, or United? Now, obviously, this is another trick question because it wasn't Delta, the hubbing carrier. It was United. And they're not gouging the market. They're charging exactly what they have to. But when you look at the average fare paid, Delta customers aren't paying more than the average at Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. And on a per mile basis, which is affected by the length of haul and other issues, they're paying less than two of the other network carriers there. So when you hear all this folderol about airlines gouging at hubs, it's not true. Are they going to charge what they can? Yes. I mean, executives at businesses across Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky who are complaining about Delta's fares and they should be lower, if you ask their company, do you want to lower the price of your toothpaste or lower the price of your whatever your product is, they'll say, heck no. Airlines are exactly the same way, and that's not going to change. Okay, there's just 5 questions. How well do you do? Because there's a lot of misconceptions out there because there's a lot of repeated, we call it circular information. Analyst 1 says it, Analyst 2 repeats it, Analyst 1 heard Analyst 2 say it, so he knows he must be right. And we have a lot of misinformation out there. But if we're going to plan for the future, airports are going to have to make very sure they're looking at reality. And there's not a lot of realities coming out of Washington, D.C. right now, by a long shot. And that's the challenge we have. And I think we need to help support the FAA to move in the right direction to improve their forecast methodologies. And another thing is, remember, traffic will happen on the basis of what airlines decide in front offices. And unless you're a fly on the wall in those front offices, you're not going to really know what they're doing. I'm Mike Boyd for Airport Business.
We would love to hear your feedback about this episode of Boyd Bytes and previous episodes. We come out with a new Boyd Bytes monthly, so be sure to view the videos and be part of the discussion at AviationPros.com. Thank you for your interest. Have a wonderful day.